Welcome to the Kickstart Your Coaching Edge podcast, where it's all about getting real around all things coaching.
And what we know for sure is that what got you here won't get you there.
You can't see the spinach in your own teeth.
And finally, hang on, because this one's really deep. Once you realize that you are the traffic, everything makes complete and unadulterated sense.
All right, we are back for yet another episode of our amazing podcast. And we just want to say thank you so much for two things. One, that you listen to the podcast. We appreciate that. We have a fun time doing it. Second thing we want to do is thank everybody who attended the Kickstart Your Interpersonal Relationships free webinar that we did. And we want to invite you to the last free offering we have for May, which is a free session of the Inner Circle where coaches come together. It's the No BS in crowd for coaches. And we are going to be doing some coaching around interpersonal relationships. That's going to happen on May 24th at 2:00 Eastern time. And if you want to sign up, check out the description of this episode for your link, and we'd love to see you there. So this month is about interpersonal relationships, and it's about really creating the feeling of trust and compassion and have mutually satisfying relationships. And I want to share a story from Karen and I, and this goes way back, right? So Karen and I met, and we have some really good stories about all of that. This isn't the how we met story, but this was in the beginning parts of our relationship. And so I was living in Florida and Karen was living in New Jersey, and she had just this amazing ability that she would send me emails, right? And be like, "Hey, sunshine, how's it going?" Or, "Hi, rock star, hope you're having a great day." Or, "Hey, superstar, what do you have on tap?" Right? Whatever it was. But all of her emails had this amazing way of talking. When we would talk on the phone, she had the same kind of high energy, sounded just like she was so excited, just at the edge of her seat to be able to have a conversation with me. So no matter if she was writing the email or she was saying it, the interesting thing is that from an emotional perspective, I was just like, "Oh my God, this gal likes me," right? It's more than that, but she made me feel connected. She made me feel inspired. She made me feel understood. She made me feel liked by her, right? And which is pretty amazing. But there's so much emotional intelligence and that energy that she would put out every time we connected. So back in the day, I was just like, "Oh, she likes me." And for those of you who don't know, spoiler alert, we're married and we're going to be married for 7 years. But this is way back when. I'm like, "Oh my God, she totally likes me. This gal is digging on me," which is great because I'm digging on her. This is fantastic. And I can tell just the way she talks. So one time I flew up to Jersey and we're hanging out together, and she said, "Oh, I have to make a phone call. And do you mind if I just run into the car?" And I'm like, "No, not at all." So she calls this dude, and this guy, he's about 74 and just super nice guy. A little bit reserved, really just wonderful. And she had to talk to him. And all of a sudden he picks up the phone and says hello. And she's like, "Hey, rock star, how's it going?" And I'm like, "Ooh." I just almost choked doing that. Hold on. That was a big gasp. I was like, "Oh my God, do you talk like this to everybody?" And she turns to me and she's like, "Yeah." And I thought that was so interesting because from an emotional intelligence perspective, her ability to create that connection, to have that interpersonal relationship, to be assertive in what she was thinking and feeling, allowed me then to understand what I was feeling. And then, so it gave me my own emotional self-awareness, and then reached out to her more with emotional expression. And the interesting thing is I didn't realize she talked like that to everybody, but it was such a moment of how making somebody feel special strengthens relationships.
I still freaking love that story, Jen. And you know what? I think that one of the big things here when you think about this for me, right? Relationships are so important to me. And I know we talked a little bit about Strength Finders last time. And we both do have components in relationships, but relationships, like for me, that's like, I don't know, it's like it's like a heartbeat, right? Like you have to have it. Relationships, like whether it's with, I mean, obviously with you, with my family, with friends, I mean, they're really important. And I think, you know, it's that staying in touch with people and reaching out to people and connecting with people is really, really important. And it's funny, Jen, because, you know, when we're in this whole pandemic thing, you know, as a business, we were reaching out to people we were reaching out and we were checking in and we're having, you know, sending emails and sending, you know, worksheets for people and different things about emotional intelligence and checking on how they were doing. And I remember one of the emails that I sent out, I had sent to this one woman and love her to death. And I had said something about, about being in a pandemic and the baby's crying and you don't know if you should put whiskey on his gums. And, you know, and we're tired of the Zoom screens and the whole thing. And talking to her after that, she was like, oh my God, when I got your email, I felt like you were talking to me. And I said, I was talking to you. And I think like each one of those emails that went out to the business people that we worked with was an individual email because it's so important. And for you and I, we say again and again and again, especially when we're teaching people on our coach training program, that we're not focused on quote unquote getting clients. We're focused on building relationships. And that's how we operate, right? That's important. Whether I'm saying something about loving somebody's Gucci belt or whether I'm saying something about putting whiskey on somebody's, you know, on a baby's gums, or whether or not, you know, people are still eating chocolate. It doesn't matter. Like it like those things. Well, actually, what I mean is it does matter. It's a connection that you're making because we really know people. Right? We know what's important.
Well, it's also about how you make people feel. Yeah. Right. So when people feel connected, heard, valued, seen, respected, loved, all of those things are what create more two-way in a relationship. Right. So I love the fact that the truth is you are rock starring everyone and sunshining everyone. I should have probably pulled in the EQI subscale of reality testing in my head on how much I thought you were smitten by me. Turns out you were. But it is interesting because relationships are about how people make you feel. So when you look at the relationships that you have in life, whether it be with your boss, with your coworkers, with your neighbors, with your friends, with your family, how do those relationships make you feel? What kind of reality testing might you need to do about it? Right? Do you feel inspired, uplifted, and connected in these relationships? Or do you feel guarded and judged and disconnected? These are all the things to think about. How do you treat people? How do you want people to feel? And what kinds of relationships do you want to have? And so it's not necessarily about having to have the most charisma, but it's more about there's so many ways to have mutually satisfying relationships. It's about getting to know people and what's important to them. And then it's about being able to express that in a way that they can hear and hopefully find value in. Anything else you want to add there, Kara?
No, we're going to do a whole nother topic next time. So Rockstar, let's wrap this up.
I love it. All right. See y'all soon. Bye.
Bye. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Kickstart Your Coaching Edge podcast. Craving more in-depth discussions? Check out the Get Real Inner Circle with our no BS in-crowd of coaches.
Join live coaching discussions, breakdowns of coaching calls, and have some fun while you're at it.
You're going to want to go to kickstartyouredge.com/inner circle. It's time to get real.